Have you ever been awake at 2 a.m. and you start to Google, "Am I the narcissist? Was I the problem?" If so, you're not alone. I remember doing this multiple times when I was going through my breakup. In this video, I'm going to walk you through 10 signs that you're not a narcissist and why trauma, gaslighting, and survival responses make you question your own character. So let's start clearing this up. The first sign that you're not a narcissist is actually this. You question yourself. After an argument or an unpleasant conversation, you hit rewind and you replay what happened. You ask yourself, was that my fault? Did I overreact? And you genuinely want to know if you've hurt someone. You reflect. If you were truly a narcissist, you wouldn't reflect on the behavior. True narcissistic patterns avoid self-examination because that would threaten their self-image. But after emotional abuse, victims are conditioned to constantly self-examine their behaviors. Tactics like gaslighting make you doubt your memory. Projection makes you carry things that were never yours to carry. In these kinds of relationships, you're constantly scanning yourself. The fact that you're asking, "Am I a narcissist?" is already evidence of self-awareness. And self-awareness is limited on the narcissism spectrum. Number 2, you feel real guilt when you hurt someone. When you snap at someone or you're sharp with someone, you know what you did. And you recognize that you may have hurt that person, which then leads to feelings of guilt. And eventually you may come to a place where you want to repair the damage that's been done. After narcissistic abuse, many women confuse being reactive with being abusive. And when that reactive moment occurs, at some point afterwards, you feel that guilt. Narcissistic patterns deflect guilt. They externalize blame and rarely sit with remorse. If you feel guilty for hurting someone, that's a normal response. And if you can put yourself in that person's shoes and reflect on how they were feeling after the interaction, that's known as empathy. 2 characteristics that don't fit with being a narcissist. Number 3, you want a relationship that feels equal. You want conversation, collaboration, and shared decision-making. You don't want to dominate, you want to connect emotionally. Narcissistic dynamics are different. There's a winner and there's a loser. If you overfunctioned in the relationship, managing emotions, fixing everything, muting some parts of yourself, you may think, well, maybe I was being controlling. But there's a big difference between being controlling and trying to keep yourself safe. Overfunctioning is often a trauma response. It's about stabilizing the environment and self-protection. Before we move forward, I wanted to introduce myself. My name is Cassandra Mullick. I'm a therapist and wellness coach, and this space is all about becoming your best self after an emotionally abusive relationship. If you'd like further support on learning how to do that, you can check out the link in the description below. On to point number 4. You may feel uncomfortable with boundaries, but you respect them. When someone in your world says, "I need space," it may trigger anxiety for you, but you don't retaliate and you don't punish them. If you are in a relationship where you're constantly walking on eggshells, boundaries might feel like rejection, but that discomfort is coming from nervous system conditioning. The difference is narcissistic patterns interpret boundaries as a defense or a threat. That's not what you're doing. Number 5, you can admit when you're wrong. Even when it feels uncomfortable, you are able to acknowledge your role in the dynamic. Whereas narcissistic defenses protects the ego at all times. There is no sense of accountability for the narcissistic person. The one thing to remember is that survivors of these types of relationships have often been overcorrected. So they may take responsibility for everything, even if it wasn't theirs to take. If you have the capacity to admit mistakes and grow from them, that's psychological flexibility, not narcissism. Remember, healthy people can apologize without collapsing. On to number 6, but stay tuned for number 8 because that is a big one. You don't use other people's weaknesses against them. When someone shares something vulnerable with you, you don't store it as ammunition. Narcissistic patterns, though, often weaponize vulnerability. It creates leverage for them to use later. Number 7, your identity doesn't collapse without validation. Yes, we all want appreciation. Yes, we want people to notice us, but you're not dependent on that validation to feel real or alive. After emotional abuse, your system may crave reassurance. That's trauma bonding, not narcissism. Narcissistic identities require external admiration to preserve their self-worth. Without it, they unravel. Seeking connection isn't narcissism. It's being human. Number 8, celebrating someone else's success doesn't threaten your identity. You can feel genuinely happy for someone, even if you're working towards something for yourself. Narcissists frame life as a competition. For them, status is everything. If you've been in survival mode for a long period of time, you may feel the need to compare sometimes, or you might feel jealousy or envy. Those are completely normal feelings. That is not the same as entitlement. Number 9, you don't orchestrate people to get outcomes. You don't gaslight, and you don't deliberately hurt people to make yourself feel better. Survivors sometimes feel the need to twist the narrative or distort some things, but only in order to protect themselves, which is much different than manipulation. And number 10, this one matters the most. You want to become better. You care about your character and how you show up. True narcissist characteristics are very rigid. Growth requires admitting imperfection, and we know that that's never going to happen with a truly narcissistic person. If you're watching videos like this, questioning yourself and actively trying to understand, that's emotional development. That's seeking growth. There are certain reasons why you may feel like you're the narcissist, and it comes down to biology. Narcissistic abuse rewires your nervous system. Gaslighting makes you distrust your perceptions. Projection makes you carry their traits. Reactive moments make you feel ashamed. Trauma bonding keeps you confused. And chaos and confusion can feel like guilt. Now that you know that you are not the narcissist or the problem, it's time to give yourself permission to start focusing on you. And if you'd like help with that, check out this video up here.